another episode of Streaming Safari here at the Lion Habitat Ranch. As always, I would first like to thank you if you've come out to visit us, or if you've been able to donate to help us out on Amazon Smile. All of those links are right down below, as usual. We really appreciate it. We are a nonprofit, so anything that you can do for us does go right back to helping all of our amazing animals. So thank you. And this week for Streaming Safari, we are going to be building a rubber band car, which is pretty cool. We're going to do a little bit more engineering. We did some engineering last week with our Cooper airplanes that I thought was pretty fun. And so we'll do a little more engineering this week and make a little car. I think my car is pretty cute. What do you think, Denise? She's nodding yes, but I don't know.
There's not going to be any math, and I'm really excited about it.
There's no math today, guys, so Denise is having a good time with Streaming Safari today. But what I am going to talk to you about is a little bit of physics. So when a rubber band stretches, we have something that's called potential energy. And potential energy is pretty much the energy that's stored inside of something. That's why it's called potential. It makes sense, right? It has the potential to become something else. So we know that energy is not made or destroyed, it just becomes different things, right? So what I can do is I can store up a bunch of energy, potential energy, in a rubber band, and then when I release the rubber band, it'll actually let that energy go. So when I pull a rubber band and I release it nice and slowly, the energy goes out really slowly. But if I pull the rubber band and I snap it, I'm not going to go for you. It came back and hit me. The energy comes out in whichever direction you're stretching and releasing that rubber band. And that is what we call kinetic energy. So when the energy is working, when the energy is actually essentially doing something, it's called kinetic energy. So when the energy is stored, it's potential, and then when it's released, it's kinetic, as it's working, as it's in action. So that's essentially what our design is going to be for this little car. Now, I made a little prototype for you guys. One of my wheels is a little wonky. It's okay, I have a spare. Thank you for laughing. And it's made out of a couple different things. There's some pretty easy things that you should be able to get your hands on. I think Amazon and Starbucks might be your best bets for acquiring items for this. So the first thing you're going to need is some cardboard. I just took this from the edge of a cardboard box. The cardboard that I picked is kind of hardy. We had some cardboard that was a little bit more bendy. You want something that's a little bit, but it's got a little bit of structure to it. You'll also want a straw, and this is a compostable straw, which I recommend. Safe for the environment. And then you'll need some rubber bands. You might want some different sizes of rubber bands. The rubber bands I have are all pretty large. If you want some that are kind of smaller and kind of bigger, there's some different things that we can do with them. One thing that you can do is actually create a little traction on your wheels. So some of my wheels have some little traction on them, but it's kind of a little too much traction because I've had to wrap that really big rubber band around a couple times. So if you want to try the little traction effect with your wheel, get some small rubber bands so you can wrap them around maybe only twice. All right, and then you'll need
Bird chat.
Bird chat will be in 5 minutes. Ask a keeper near you for location.
You'll need some scissors. You'll need some scissors. You'll need some scissors and an adult to help you. So that we can cut the cardboard into the right shape. Now, for this second to last little bit here, you have some options. You can use a hot glue gun and an adult, or you can just use some tape. So for this one that I made, I actually used the hot glue gun because I had a couple minutes to make it. We don't have an outlet here by Bentley, so we'll use the tape this time when we make our next car. And then you're going to need a couple different bottle caps. Now, I just have some bottle caps from some waters. If you want, you can use big bottle caps if you want. I've even seen them made with like old CDs. If you have CDs and you're like, why do I still have CDs? Nobody listens to CDs anymore. You can use those as wheels for your car. So there's lots of different options that you have. And then finally, we're going to need something for our little like axles here. And the best thing to use, I would recommend a skewer, so a wooden skewer that you might use to make, what am I thinking of?
Kebabs.
Kebabs, that thing. Denise is our local chef, so she came up with that word kebabs way before I was going to think of it. So if you have a wooden skewer for kebabs, you can use one of those. I'm going to use some stir sticks that we had from the coffee shop, and I'm just going to cut them in half. So I believe I've gone over all of the items that we will need for this. And so let's get to making a car. So we're going to cut kind of a rectangle out of this cardboard. You just want to make sure that it's smaller than your straw. So technically you could make a really long car that was as long as the straw if you had two
Monster
straws.
truck. You could make a monster truck.
Monster truck. But I'm going to make this kind of about halfway down the straw, so I've got enough straw left. And then again, your length, you can play with the length too. And that's the kind of cool thing about this is they're really easy to make. So you can make a bunch of different cars in a bunch of different ways using different materials and see which ones work the best. Think about things like how light is your car going to be versus is a heavier car going to go? You know, thinking about the things that we talked about last week with mass and force. You know, a lighter car might be able to go faster, but maybe the heavier car would be able to go for longer. You can play with all that different stuff. So I'm going to make my car a little bit smaller. Okay, so we've got our base for our car. And then I'm going to take my straw, and for 1/2 of it, your straw is going to be a full length with the length of the car. So I'm just going to cut my straw so it's the same length there. And then for the other side, what I want to do first is I want to cut a little notch out of the back of it. So it doesn't really matter how big this little notch is. You just want enough space for you to be able to wrap up your rubber band. A little bit bigger. Okay, so you get that little notch. I think the easiest way to do this is to actually just push it up and then cut it out again. Cool. And then your other straw needs to go on either side of this to be able to hold your stick. That's going to allow your wheels to rotate. So we got that half, and then I'm going to kind of roughly measure this. It's also nice rough measuring for Denise, so we don't have to do any math today.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so if you don't have a hot glue gun handy or an outlet handy for your hot glue gun, just take some tape and just make sure that these are going to be nice and secure on there. So that was the wrong one. So we're going to take this front straw and put it nice and flush against the edge of the front of our car and tape it down. I might put some extra pieces of tape just to make sure it stays in place. And if you have a straw like a boba straw or something that's even bigger, that might work really, really well too. So again, this is a really fun experiment because you can use all kinds of different tools to make your car, and no matter what your car is, pretty easy to put together. All right, we're gonna need one more hole that I'm gonna poke right now in this. And you can actually put this secondary hole anywhere along here. For this car that I made before, the hole is all the way at the very end. So for this new car, I'm actually going to poke it so it's a little bit closer to the back end of the car. All right. And then I'm going to tape on my little back pieces of this. Do we have anybody watching today?
We do, a couple of people. These nice and tight on here. Here's one. Here's the other one. I think we
we have some things coming up maybe for Christmas that Denise might want to mention.
Oh, our activities for Christmas? Oh yeah, we just posted them yesterday. So we're going to be celebrating Christmas at the ranch from December 24th through the 26th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can just come in general admission on the days that you want to come, or if you want to, you can book it online in advance. There's going to be a scavenger hunt for kids to learn about the North Pole, the animals that live there, and then also we'll have story time with Ozzy, which is Keeper Robert's favorite thing, is story time with Ozzy.
Story time with Ozzy.
And then we may have a couple of other surprises in store, but we'll definitely have areas where people can take photos, and it'll just be a nice way to kind of celebrate the holidays.
All right, so some engineering things here. First off, the back of my car is not even. It's going to be a little rough for my car to drive. So try to make this back edge a little bit more even than I did. You can even just kind of move the straws around too, just to get it a little tiny bit more. A little bit more even, so that when you're putting your skewer or your stir stick through it, it can go through pretty straight. Now, you can see that my stir stick is a little bit too big. And the cool thing about these stir sticks is they're made with some pretty weak material here, so I can actually cut this in half. You want your skewer or your stir stick to be able to spin, right? So your wheels can actually spin through here. So I'm gonna cut this guy in half, and I'm gonna cut a little bit of the length off of it. Away some of this. If it's not perfect, it's okay. I think I cut on two sides, which is fine. I just want enough to make it so that when I stick the stick through, it can actually turn pretty easily. Through, make sure it turns. All right, and then you're going to need to get your bottle caps, and what you're going to do is just take your bottle cap and an adult, and have your adult carefully poke a hole through the bottle cap, through the top of the bottle cap. I would say poke a hole that's pretty small at first, and if you need to make it bigger, then make it bigger, so that your
wheel
axle fits through the wheel. Axle? Is that an axle?
I don't know cars. Ask me lion questions. I know lions.
How big are lions when they're born?
About a pound. They're not very big.
Okay, so then you get your wheel on there. Again, what you can do is actually wrap a little bit of a shorter than this rubber band around it to create a little bit of traction so your car pulls forward. I'm going to take the wheels off of my other car and see if this car works any better than my first model. The Model A didn't.
We're on Model B, Beta.
We're on Model Beta. Alright. And you want your wheels to be pretty straight. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well. So another little trick that you can do is if you feel like your wheels are moving around too much, or you use something bigger, like a maybe a bottle cap from like a Gatorade, or like
juice bottle.
You use a juice bottle, or you use, what did I say before, CDs. You can actually take some other sort of material, like a piece of a sponge, or even just another rubber band, and wrap the rubber band around the end so that your wheel doesn't move back and forth. All right. Mine are pretty secure in there, so I think I'm going to leave them like this. This wheel is really wonky, so I'm going to actually put on my spare tire, which, if you could tell, it is like a spare tire. It's smaller. So I'm going to poke a little hole in my spare tire and see if my spare fits a little better than the wheel from the dealership. Oh yeah, that fits good. That one looks really good. That one, I think I should have used these ones instead. I was going for the bigger wheels. Do those have a name?
So bigger is not
out here. Bigger is not better here, I guess, because this wheel is working good. The spare is better. All right. So now we actually need our energy, right? We need our motor for this car, and how are we gonna get power to our car? Well, we're going to get power from a rubber band and dun, 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 a paper clip. So your paper clip you're going to take and you're just going to put it through the little hole you made. Again, you can kind of move this around. So try it with the place for the paper clip to be in the middle, closer to the back, closer to the front, all different places so that you can see kind of how much go you can get out of your car. Might not get any go. All right. So now we need to be able to wind up the rubber band. So we stretch it and we pull out all of that potential energy. I'm going to grab one that's a little bit thicker maybe. This one feels a little too stretchy. But, or maybe even, let's try 2 rubber bands. We're going to do 2. See if that gives us a little bit more potential energy to store up. So the easiest way to really do this is actually to stick the rubber bands through that back little slot that you made and wrap them around so that they can just grab on to the back skewer.
Hold on. I can't see through your hands.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Okay.
So I just made a little loop. Now you're going to want to pull it all the way around until it reaches that paper clip underneath, and then you're going to use the paper clip as a place to kind of hang it on there. You might not be able to get both of them on. It made a mess. Let's try the one, because the other one is the one that's something we'll talk about maybe in another streaming safari is that when you put multiple rubber bands together, they actually become less stretchy, which is actually part of how your veins and arteries work. So rubber bands can show you a lot of different cool stuff about biology, as well as engineering. And a lot of our biology is actually engineering, which is pretty surprising. As you can hear, we're pretty busy today, so again, if you guys want to come to visit, we are open Thursday through Monday every week, including holidays, from 11 to 3 for the rest of the winter. Denise, what have I done?
I don't know.
Okay, we're good. Okay, so now you have your rubber band attached to the bottom of here, and watch what happens when I turn this back end. So when I turn it and turn it, it's actually going to pull the rubber band more and more, and it's going to store up that energy for me. So you can rotate it this way, or if you get your car in just the right place with really good traction on your wheels, you can actually pull the car backwards. So you want to make that rubber band kind of as tight as you can possibly get it. And now my back wheels may just spin, but we're going to try it out. All right, we ready? See if this car has any go.
We're ready. It sounded like it had a little go. It moved like an inch.
It moved only like an inch. So I think it's probably has to do with the fact that my wheels are not really perfectly aligned on here. If you get your wheels aligned a little bit better, you'll hopefully get a little bit more go out of it. I'll try one more time, but I think that's all the go we're going to get out of our little car here. Hopefully you guys will do better. I'll make it as tight as I possibly can. And again, moving where the rubber band is located is going to be really helpful too.
Yep.
Where it got stuck?
I don't know. Probably a design flaw. You're not wrong.
I have an engineering idea. Nope, my engineering idea is not going through.
And we broke the rubber band, but you can play with it at home.
Right, engineering wasn't that bad. All right, we'll try one more time. And again, yes, as Denise was saying, you can play with it at home. Try different materials. Try using the hot glue gun to try getting some of the wheel stuff kind of out of the way. Maybe sinking this little part down a little bit because I feel like the cardboard's in the way a tiny bit. Oh, that went a little bit.
There you go.
A little more successful. All right. Well, Send us some pictures or some videos of your cars. We want to see them scooting across.
And then they haven't seen Bentley in a while. Caitlin might be able to get Bentley up.
We can see a Bentley.
Caitlin, do you want to see if Bentley wants to come up?
Yes, I do.
So.
So thank you guys for watching another trip to Safari. I hope you had fun learning how to build a rubber band car, and I hope that your rubber band car goes very, very far. Please try all kinds of different cool things. I think this is the easiest model, but I do recommend you going online and looking at all kinds of different ways to make these cars. Some of them you can make with popsicle sticks. You'll need a hot glue gun for that, so I didn't do that one for you today. But there's lots of different options for you guys for this experiment, so please try it out.
And thank you guys for tuning in, and we're going to say goodbye with a Bentley today.